Ah! Hey, what's going on, everybody? EnterChazman here, back with another chit chat that I wanted to have with you guys about a movie I recently got to take on just over the weekend. If you don't know, this movie's only been out for what, maybe like 2 days at this point. But it seemed like the kind of gross, kind of gory time that I typically enjoy, and also the kind of movie that I thought my mom would enjoy. So over the weekend, I took a couple family members, and we went to go see Abigail. Once again, the kind of movie that I feel like my mom loves. My mom loves this kind of stuff. The last few movies I've taken her to see, what was the last one before this? I think was Evil Dead, and I think, or was it? What was the last Evil Dead movie called? I don't even remember. I think it was The Evil Dead or something. But yeah, I took her to see that. She enjoyed that. I don't know. You can kind of gauge where I get my kind of my fixation on scary movies from her. But yeah, we went to go see that. Dropped some money. We got some alcoholic drinks. Had a good time. But yeah, kind of getting right into the movie Abigail. If you haven't seen the trailers, essentially, what this movie, what it's about is basically is these, it's like this group of hired not I don't want to say hitman, hired people to do these people that are hired to do a job to kidnap a wealthy man's daughter, and if so fact so things go really great for them in terms of the kidnapping, and then when they bring her to the specified location that they were asked, things go haywire. They get essentially locked into this place, and as it turns out, the little girl is not of this world, or she's a little vampire. Of which, now that I think about it, the idea to me kind of feels very gosh, what was that? Oh, 13 Ghosts, where everyone gets kind of locked in, and then the whole point of the movie is just seeing who can survive through all of these brutal killings and terrible things. But yeah, kind of getting right into it. That's essentially the movie. Essentially the plot. It kind of goes into a few. Once again, I should say though that I'm gonna try and not have any spoilers in here. I feel like this is the kind of movie where the final act, has a couple little spoiler things, and that's kind of mainly the fun of it, because I guess just jumping right into it, what you kind of get is what you see from the trailers in terms of this movie. I think when I ended up finishing the movie and walking out, I felt, I don't want to say disappointed, but I definitely feel as though it's the kind of movie where I got what I was wanting, I got what I was looking for. The movie didn't try and really do a heck of a whole lot else to really surprise you. It kind of sticks close to the vest, and this is the kind of movie that really could have messed things up if it really tried to get too wacky and too crazy, which it very much reminds me of another movie I'll get into, and we'll talk about that movie as well. But yeah, it is what you're wanting. It is what you're expecting. It doesn't do anything crazy. One of the big things that I got out of the movie is I loved all the acting. All the acting was great. That's definitely a high point. The girl that plays Abigail, Alicia Ware, she was really great, really spooky. You can tell she'll probably be like a new up and coming actor. She'll definitely be getting some more work. All of the characters I liked, and I especially liked the relationship between her and the Joey character, who's kind of your main protagonist of the movie. What is it? Melissa Barrera. Yeah, they really build that up for her to be kind of like the protector, and it's really interesting because throughout most of the movie, she's like very protective. She's like the only one who's trying to make sure the girl is like safe and comforted. And once again, you as the viewer, you kind of know what the girl is simply through the trailers, but it's especially entertaining when you kind of see how comforting and how protective she is of her, especially knowing, oh, she's protecting a brutal killer, basically. Who else is there? There's a bunch of other characters. So basically the whole team, there's a Frank, a Sammy. Sammy is the blonde girl in there. Frank is the guy with the glasses. There's a Peter, and then there's a Rickles. Oh, there was also a Dean. Dean by far, I'm sure that was the point of his character, but he was by far the most annoying character, I would say, out of the entire group. He's kind of like a ghetto white boy kind of thing going on, or and he's not like you know, the sharpest tool in the shed. He's like the I guess him and the Peter character were kind of both played kind of the same way. Just kind of different fashions of not being like Peter's more like the muscle, and then Dean is just a driver. He's they consider him throughout the entire movie. He's like the one non-professional out of everyone. But yeah, and then Peter, Peter, I would say out of the entire group, other than I actually ended up kind of liking the Frank character. He's kind of like a there's some revelations as to who he is and what his previous job was and what he was all that. But yeah, I kind of liked him mainly because he's kind of like the a-hole of the group by far. He's like a New Yorker kind of douchebag who like is kind of just in it for the money and in it for I mean, they're all just in it for the money, but he's like a professional. He's the one that wants to make sure everything gets done right. But yeah, my favorite character, of course, was the character Peter. What's his name? Kevin Durand. I've seen this guy in a lot of stuff. If you've seen him, big guy. You can see him right here. I think maybe you'll see him. Where's he at? Oh, you just saw him. Oh, there's a guy in the back. But yeah, he's like by far my favorite character. Same thing with my mom and my uncles who also went. But they also were like, everyone thought that he was like the best character of the entire movie. He's like a lovable numbskull. Like he's kind of dumb, but he like, I don't know. He's very likable. I felt all throughout. There's one particular scene where when it's been kind of revealed that Abigail is this, you know, vampire. That like once again Peter is like the hired muscle for like whatever job he's in. Oh, and there's a scene right there. But there's a scene where he thinks he has the girl blocked in, and she like breaks down the door, and he like turns around, running away, screaming. Gosh, what a time to get the hiccups, huh? But that's probably my favorite scene. There's also a couple the scene with the Rickles character. I like his scene because he has like a particular chat with Joey where they kind of, you know, act tough and they're trying to stick together, and they're like, we don't trust anybody else here. And then immediately once he turns away from her, he gets brutalized. It's pretty cool and pretty fun. That was definitely a high point. All of the characters in the movie for me were great. Every character I think I liked. Yeah, and the little girl does a great job. You know, once again, I think you'll be seeing a lot more of her in the future. I didn't realize it, but this Joey girl, Melissa Barrera, I think she was in the most recent Scream movie, which I haven't seen, or one of the most recent ones. So she's definitely, you know, a hot commodity right now. Also, I forgot to say the Kevin Durand guy, the Peter. I loved him in, what was it, Smokin' Aces. If you haven't seen Smokin' Aces, go and watch that movie. I think he was in that, and that was like one of my favorite movies of like the 2000s, was Smokin' Aces. He's been in a bunch of other stuff, but that's like the big one I remember him in. And then, of course, I forgot to say the guy kind of setting up the job, what you see here, is Lambert, or Giancarlo Esposito. And he's freaking awesome in this movie. He's not in it very much, but he's like, the role they give him is pretty awesome, and he doesn't not do like absolutely nothing. He plays a bit of, you know, has a good amount of screen, or he doesn't have a good amount of screen time, but he plays a big role in the movie. So if you like Giancarlo, he's great there as well. He's great in everything. So as we kind of delve in, so I liked, once again, all the characters are great. Kind of getting into just a kind of the background stuff that I didn't find a ton about this movie, but I got a couple little things. I don't know if you guys didn't know, this movie originally was announced in 2023, and it was kind of pitched as like a reimagining of 1936's Dracula's Daughter, which I didn't actually know until like looking up this, you know, post watching it, which is a really interesting take, because like as you're watching the movie, you're kind of like, is this house this old, and what's up with all this, you know, old architecture, and everything does seem odd. And then, like, you know, if you kind of coming to approaching the movie from that viewpoint of like a Dracula's Daughter, which I've never seen, but as, you know, kind of imagining what that would be like, it kind of all makes sense. You can kind of see you know, where the movie's coming from. Along with this 2023 announcement of the movie, I also forgot to say that, like, because of that fact of it being like a Dracula's daughter reimagining. You could also say that this movie is like a universal monster movie, pretty much, which is kind of interesting. Because once again, I don't think there's probably many people going to see this movie with that in mind, thinking that this is like a universal horror, monster movie. Interesting, very interesting. But yeah, back to the announcement in 2023, as it was that they had a Matt Bettinelli Olpin and a Tyler Gillett that were tasked with co-directing duties. So yeah, basically they've, all throughout the process have been co-directing. They directed this. So that's where we start getting into the interesting part of this movie before I got to officially, watch it. Me and my uncle, as we were talking before we went to the theater, I was telling him that from the trailers, I kid you not, I was telling him that this movie was giving me major... I don't know if you guys remember the movie Ready or Not. I think that was from like 4 years ago. And I actually went to go see it with my uncle as well. I remember telling him, I'm like, why does the trailer look so much like Ready or Not? That was like the big vibe I was getting. And as it turns out, these directors co-directed Ready or Not, which is super hilarious. What kind of gave me the vibe of Ready or Not is this movie does a really interesting thing in terms of like some of its gore and its blood. Like I guess minor spoilers for no, I wouldn't say minor spoilers. With the movie Ready or Not, if you remember some of the gore towards the latter end of the movie and some of the like blood, they had lots of like particular looking explosions, like bodily explosions and weird kind of gore type things that would happen. And this movie does a very similar thing. And that's what like, well, I mean, I guess I didn't see the movie, so I didn't know this movie was gonna do that. But like, I guess just for me, the blood and how they approach some of the gore to me was just screaming Ready or Not, which I thought was interesting. Did I love Ready or Not? I thought it was okay. I wasn't like smitten on it, didn't like totally love it. Ready or Not did a weird thing towards the end that I wasn't like over the moon about. I just thought it was alright. I thought it was a fun time. I could watch it again, or I could not, kind of give or take. So I mean that pretty much goes for all my notes that I really had. Just kind of off the dome now for things that I really liked about the movie. Similar to Ready or Not, the movie has a couple of twists and turns. Once again, it's not going to do anything super crazy. So kind of don't expect a heck of a whole lot from it. But I will say one thing that I remember thinking when I left the movie that I kind of wish they would have done a little bit more with is, I know this movie is about a vampire, but I'll be honest, that is probably the one aspect that they don't really delve a ton into. Throughout the movie, the survivors, the remaining people, they're trying different things to see what works on a vampire, what doesn't. Like so crosses don't really work. As it turns out, I think stakes kind of worked throughout. Garlic, I don't think, was something that worked. Light worked. So it's like they kind of play around with like typical vampire lore. Some of it sticks, some of it doesn't. What I mean that I wish they would have done more with the vampire stuff is they kind of like build up this lore in the world that like there's more than a few vampires, and I kind of wish they would have just... I'll leave it at that. I kind of just wish they would have done a little bit more with it. If I would have delved too deep, I kind of would reveal some spoilers. But it's pretty interesting. I at least liked in this movie how they like approached their vampires. They're like super brutal, super they brutalize, they kill, and they don't just like kill. They rip out all organs. They drain the blood completely, rip off heads. It's pretty crazy. And also in this world, I guess their vampires aren't like blood hungry, like they're not like just constantly feeding and just like, I don't know. They seem to have a certain amount of self-control, which is pretty interesting. And I think I like it. But yeah. I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of running out of things else to say. I really enjoyed the film. I don't know if I loved this. I feel like I feel about it the same way as I did when I watched Ready or Not. Like it's a decent time. It's a fun time. It's you know, nice and gory, and I would just say don't go in expecting a ton. You know, I kind of got what I wanted out of it. I'm okay with it. I could watch it again at some point. I could not. It is, you know, it is what it is. So who would I recommend this movie for? Kind of that. Kind of like horror gore hounds. If you just want to go in and see, if you just want to see a vampire running around killing some people. It's got some good humor, I would say. I actually thought this movie was more funny than I thought it was gonna be. The Peter character is hilarious. They have like the ghetto white guy. He was pretty funny. It's got some humor, and that I appreciated. That I liked. But yeah, that's all I got to say. Had a great time watching this movie. I think it again wasn't like my favorite movie ever, but like I was drinking. I was with family in a movie theater. That's always that alone, you know, always makes things a good time. I guess anything I got else on the horizon. Oh, I forgot to say in the trailers for this movie, they showed Alien. What is it? Alien Romulus? Yeah, Romulus. That's kind of one that's on my. I kind of want to see that. I haven't watched many of the you know, lately Alien movies. I'm more of an old school fan, but if they're kind of returning to trying to make the movie spooky, you know, I'm all for it. I'm all good. But yeah, once again, guys, I tried to keep this video with as least amount of spoilers as I could. Just know, if you want a good spooky house movie with some nice brutal, you know, killing scenes and seeing a a scary little girl run around and be scary, it's a fun time. All right. But that's it. That's all I got, everyone. Just want to say thank you so much. Go watch Abigail. I definitely think it's... I personally think it's worth going to see in theaters, but if you're worried about it, I'm sure this will come to, you know, digital formats and everything, streaming very quickly. We saw it. It was been out for, what, a day? Yesterday, and there was like 8 people in the theater, so it's not like... I don't think this is necessarily going to be a huge seller. You know, this isn't gonna, you know, do gangbusters. You know, it's. I totally forgot there was flying involved. Yeah, there was some flying involved in this movie. So, you know, once again, it's a good time. All right, thank you so much for watching, everyone. I love you. Down in the comments, I would love to know what you guys thought about Abigail. Did you completely love it? Did you totally hate it? Once again, I was more like somewhere between like and middling. I thought it was a decent time, so thank you so much. Love you guys. See you on the next EnteR, Chazman. Bye, everybody.